Hello, welcome to our Sunday evening's edition of Arirang News. I'm Daniel Che. To mark South Korea's Liberation Day on Monday, the nation's ruling and opposition party lawmakers have come together for a planned visit to the easternmost island of Dokdo, part of efforts to counter Japan's false claims of sovereignty over the territory. Kwon So-hwa starts us off.
10 lawmakers from the ruling Saenuri Party, the main opposition Minjuk Party of Korea, and minor opposition People's Party are scheduled to visit Dokdo Island on Monday to mark National Liberation Day, the 71st anniversary of Korea's independence. The legislators are expected to offer words of encouragement to the Dokdo Guards, the police force that protects the islets. They'll also inspect facilities there and meet with civic groups also visiting Dokdo. Saenuri Party lawmaker Na Kyung-won, who is heading Monday's delegation, criticized the Japanese government Sunday for expressing disapproval of the politician's trip. She said she's appalled by the complaint and that Tokyo is overreacting, as there shouldn't be a problem with South Korean parliamentarians visiting South Korean territory. Na, who's the chairwoman of Parliament's Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee, urged a review of Korea's, quote, silent diplomacy when it comes to the Dokdo issue, since Tokyo shows no signs of backing down from its false claim that Dokdo, which it calls Takeshima, belongs to Japan. For its part, Seoul's foreign ministry said it has again made clear to Tokyo that Dokdo is South Korean territory by international law and on the basis of geography and history. Monday's trip will be the first time in 3 years that sitting lawmakers have made an official visit to Dokdo, as long as the weather and sea conditions cooperate. Kwon So-hwa, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye is set to address the nation on Monday in a ceremony for Liberation Day. In her fourth such address, she is expected to focus on national pride and unity. According to an official from the presidential office of Cheongwade, the message will focus on reminding the people of the miraculous accomplishments that enable Korea to make a dramatic transition from poverty to global leadership in many fields. President Park is also set to ask for the nation's support in improving national defense, especially against a growing threat of North Korea, pointing out the necessity of the controversial THAAD missile defense system. Officials say the president will also likely touch on the need to build on the momentum of a landmark deal struck last year with Japan, under which Tokyo will provide funds to start a new foundation for the Korean victims of Japanese wartime sexual slavery. Meanwhile, Japan is expected to provide those funds within this month amid questions over when Tokyo would come through with the money. Diplomatic sources in Seoul said Sunday that the transfer of 10 billion yen, or about $9.8 million, is expected to be completed in August. This comes on the heels of a conversation between the South Korean and Japanese foreign ministers on Friday, in which Tokyo said it will swiftly provide the agreed amount once the necessary procedures in Japan are completed. But the two countries still need to work out how the money will be used. South Korea says nothing's been decided yet, with the foundation expected to discuss plans next week. Fighting for Korea's independence from Japan's imperial rule were not only local revolutionaries, there were foreigners among those who helped realize that dream. One of those unsung heroes was a medical missionary who showed the world through photography Japan's wrongdoings. Our Kim Hyun-bin got a chance to learn more about Dr. Frank William Schofield by meeting with his descendants who are in Seoul to honor his memory.
A Canadian family is admiring the view of the Han River in Seoul. They are the descendants of Dr. Frank William Schofield, a foreigner who took an active role in the movement for Korea's independence from Japanese imperial rule. Dr. Schofield's grandson, granddaughter, and great-granddaughter are in Seoul to commemorate his legacy.
It's a great grandfather. We knew he was quite important, but we didn't know everything about him. All of that came to light after his passing.
Dr. Schofield's photos of Korea's March 1st independence movement in 1919 will serve as important documentation for the world of Japan's brutal occupation. A month after those historic demonstrations, he also photographed the aftermath of the Cheomni massacre, where Japanese imperial forces slaughtered some 30 villagers in Cheomni in an effort to put down the independence movement spreading throughout the country. The visit to Seoul by Dr. Schofield's family is especially meaningful this year, as 2016 marks the 100th anniversary of the doctor-turned-activist's first visit to Korea. When he died in 1970, he became the first foreigner to be buried in Korea's national cemetery.
And I meet more and more people, like Dean says, that either were touched by Dr. Schofield. As a family member, I'm starting to feel more like, like this is where he was meant to be, and this is where he wanted to be, and this is a place where he called home.
This year, the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs has invited more than 40 descendants of independence fighters to attend commemorations in Korea and plans to continue to expand the program so their sacrifices will never be forgotten. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Hello, I'm Kwon Jang-ho, here with an update from Day 8 from Rio. It was a disappointing finish for the Korean men's football team as they crashed out of the competition with a 1-0 defeat against Honduras. Korea controlled most of the game, but a lack of cutting edge and an opposition goalkeeper in dominant form proved their undoing. Star player Son Heung-min had several chances to score throughout the game, but couldn't find their way past Honduras' Luis Lopez. Instead, it was Albert Ellis who managed to bag the winner in a quick counter-attack that slid through Korea's lax defence. It's an unfortunate end to the campaign. Korea had been in fine form in the group stage, and there were strong hopes that they would be able to repeat or do better than the bronze they had won 4 years ago. Other news for Team Korea: in badminton, the world #1 doubles pair of Lee Yong-dae and Yoon Young-sung have qualified for the quarter-finals despite a loss to Russia on Saturday. They're one of the 5 Korean pairs that have made it into the quarterfinals of their respective badminton competitions. In table tennis, the men's team are the only hope left for Korea to pick up a medal in the sport in Rio, after women were knocked out in the quarterfinals by Singapore. And now turning to other news, it's goodbye to Michael Phelps. On the final day of swimming in Rio, he won what's likely to be his last Olympic gold. Phelps cemented his status as the most successful Olympian of all time by collecting the 23rd gold of his Olympic career in the men's 100-meter medley relay, an incredible career that stretches back to Athens 2004. Although there have been hints that he might be back for Tokyo in 2020, there was perhaps a passing of the torch moment on Friday at the 100-meter butterfly, when Singapore's Joseph Schooling relegated Phelps to his only silver in Rio. Phelps was Schooling's idol growing up, and after the win, a picture of Schooling with his hero from 8 years ago went viral. Phelps now faces a new generation of swimmers he himself has inspired, and perhaps he feels it would be too much even for him to compete again in 4 years' time. In athletics, Jamaica's Elaine Thomas stunned defending champion and compatriot Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price to win the 100-meter gold medal. Fraser-Price was going for a 3rd consecutive title, but only managed bronze this time round. Britain's Mo Farah successfully defended his Olympic title in the 10,000 metres. Incredibly, despite a big fall on the 10th lap, he managed to battle back and win the gold. And Usain Bolt also started his defence of the men's 100-meter title with a comfortable win in the heats on Saturday. His biggest rival, the US's Justin Gatlin, clocked the fastest time of the day with a 10.01. The semi-finals will take place on Sunday, 9 p.m. Brazil local time, and the finals at 10:25.
Turning to the topic of national defense now, South Korea plans to greatly increase its deployment of indigenously made missiles as part of a strategy to take out North Korean missiles bases simultaneously should a conflict break out. Deemed a necessary change in the face of Pyongyang's growing nuclear threats, according to Seoul's defense chief. Our Connie Kim fills us in on the triple defense posture.
In the face of North Korea's growing nuclear threat, South Korea plans to significantly increase its arsenal of Hyunmoo missiles, which in the event of conflict would be used to simultaneously destroy the North's ballistic missile bases. Exactly how many will be deployed has not been specified, but a South Korean government official said Sunday that Seoul's plan to establish what it calls a triple defense posture includes the addition of more surface-to-surface Hyunmoo 2A and 2B missiles, which have a range of up to 500 kilometers, and Hyunmoo 3 cruise missiles with a target range of 1,000 kilometers. The idea of establishing a triple defense posture was first mentioned by Defense Minister Han Min-gu last month. The idea is to neutralize Pyongyang's missile threat in 3 ways: the Hyunmoo missiles, which target the North's missile bases, the Korean air and missile defense system, which is designed to shoot down missiles in flight, and the so-called kill chain, which would preemptively destroy missiles before they're launched. The plan comes as North Korea is believed to have up to 1,000 missiles it can fire from its 3 missile belts. The first belt with up to 600 Scud missiles. The second with some 300 Nodong missiles having a range of up to 1,300 kilometers. And the third belt, which is armed with ICBMs and up to 50 intermediate-range Musudan missiles. South Korea has been trying harder to deter and respond to Pyongyang's missile provocations, especially in the light of the North's seemingly endless drive for nuclear weapons. Next month, South Korea will equip its guided bombs with supposedly jam-proof GPS technology from the U.S. military to more effectively counter the North's long-range multiple rockets. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
South Korea's national budget next year may, for the first time, exceed 400 trillion won, or about 362 billion US dollars. That's roughly double the amount it was back in 2005. According to officials, the estimate is based on the government and the ruling Saenuri Party's recent agreement to increase the 2017 budget by 3 to 4% from this year. Key contributors to the rise in spending include programs to improve employment conditions for young people and to tackle the country's low birth rate and aging society. In fact, the budget related to health, welfare, and jobs is expected to hit a record of over $118 billion. Korea is in the midst of the longest streak of extremely hot days so far this century. Many are opting to stay home over the 3-day weekend, which includes the Liberation Day holiday, because Monday is forecast to be this summer's hottest day yet. According to the Korea Meteorological Administration, the longest streak of extremely hot weather, defined as a daytime high of over 33 degrees Celsius, was 25 straight days in 1943. That's followed by 17 days in 1930 and 14 days in 1994. Due to the sweltering conditions, the number of people showing up at emergency rooms with heat-related illnesses has surpassed the 1,500 mark. That's 1.5 times more than last year. As of Sunday evening, 13 people have died from heat stroke and other heat-related conditions, already 2 more cases than last summer. And of course, the KMA advised those in the nation, especially senior citizens and children, to avoid outdoor activities and remain indoors in well-ventilated areas. Turning to the weather conditions, Seoul and Gwangju will start the day at 26, Jeju 27 degrees Celsius. The mercury will then shoot up all the way to 33 in all 3 areas. Much needed relief in the form of precipitation almost all day in Gangneung, and Gwangju is also in the forecast. And now let's check out the weather conditions in other parts of our world. That's all we have for you at this hour. For more updates, do tune in at 10 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.